Hello everybody, welcome. Disney's D23 EXPO 2024 is right around the corner. And after several years of lackluster announcements, we are expecting big things from this year's event. From a fifth park coming to Walt Disney World to Disney Villains Land, we are going to cover it all right now. Disney's D23 EXPO is the ultimate Disney fan event, and this year it takes place in Anaheim, California on August 9th through 11th of 2024. For years, this has been the top theme park event for Disney fans all over the world, but the last few years really have just been kind of a letdown for people. What once heralded the coming of spectacular theme park attractions, shows, and entertainment suddenly became the event of lowered expectations, vaporware, and broken promises. In 2022, Disney really doubled down on these sort of blue sky announcements. And these were basically just them getting up on the stage and telling stories about all these really cool things that they thought of that they probably aren't even gonna do. It was basically the equivalent of me going, hey, wouldn't it be really cool if there was a Lord of the Rings land at Universal? And then not actually doing anything about it. So for the most part, a lot of the things that they've announced over the last couple of years, they haven't done anything with. We're still waiting. They've literally not followed through at all. It was back in 2022 when they first announced and talked about a possible Villains Land for Magic Kingdom, which of course got roaring excitement and screams and yells from everybody in the fan base. Everybody at the event was just cheering and saying, wow, that sounds awesome, Disney Villains. They hinted at it, didn't have any concept art, nothing to show, but people got really pumped about it, and then of course nothing happened. They also talked about a possible Coco or Encanto Land, which also never materialized. This is also the event where they talked about Tiana's Bayou adventure, which, as we know how that turned out, ended up being kind of a train wreck for Disney. A great attraction overall, but the way that they rolled it out and a lot of the problems that it's been having kind of ended up being a train wreck, but at least they did deliver on that promise. Over in Animal Kingdom, they talked about a Zootopia Land. Wouldn't it be cool if there was a big Zootopia Land? Which ultimately just ended up being a retheme to It's Tough to Be a Bug, which, as of yet, we still haven't seen anything about. And this is also where they first announced the potential for a Moana-themed land replacing the Dino Land over at Animal Kingdom. But once again, we know that fell through because in 2023, they had a different announcement of something potential for that exact same space for Animal Kingdom. But we'll get to that in just a moment. So in 2023, a couple of the big announcements they had. The biggest announcement was the Beyond Thunder Mountain announcement, which Josh D'Amaro basically got up in front of everybody and did this cool story about, have you ever wondered what's behind Thunder Mountain? Have you ever wondered if there was something behind the big spires at Thunder Mountain? And then proceeded to give us some things that they had thought about, but not actually any definitive plans. And that was pretty much the same things that they had talked about in the previous year, like a Disney Villains Land or, the Coco and Encanto areas, different things like that they could potentially use that space for, but they really hadn't thought it through very much. And there's a lot of space back there behind Big Thunder Mountain, which is about 14 acres or so, which is roughly the size of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge in Hollywood Studios, so they could do a lot in that area. There's some speculation as to whether it would actually replace what's behind Big Thunder Mountain, or it would replace specific areas of the lagoon there and Tom Sawyer's Island. We just don't know yet. And then, of course, as I mentioned, the Animal Kingdom re-theme for Dino Land, which ended up being sort of referred to as this like tropical Americas area. So what do we expect this year at 2024's event, which is referred to as Horizons? That's the name of the event this year, where they're calling it the Horizons. And the poster, the sort of marquee graphic there for this year's event looks pretty cool. It's got kind of a retro feel to it with all those sort of colors and the style, but you can see a lot of elements in that graphic from the different parks across the world. So this year's event, they are supposedly moving away from these blue sky concepts. That's the rumor. That's what we're hearing, that they're going to try and take a step back and stop doing these blue sky announcements. I still believe there will be some blue sky announcements, but it seems like the negative reaction from the Disney fan base is steering them a little bit away from that. And I think maybe they're getting the message. We'll find out. So the first big thing I'm definitely expecting to hear about this year is going to be the Tropical Americas. You can really easily see in this sort of remapping how it translates the existing Dino Land into this new space. So you've got this new Encanto space that has the big house that you can sort of enter from the movie. So we're expecting this to be some sort of dark ride, like a Haunted Mansion, Omnimover style ride, or maybe a Remy's Ratatouille adventure ride vehicle system. Could potentially also be a water ride of some kind. But we'll find out more about that hopefully at the D23 Expo. The second piece of that land is obviously the re-theme of Dinosaur, which I'm not super excited about because I do love the dinosaur attraction. And what they're thinking about replacing it with, what they're planning to replace it with, is the Indiana Jones attraction. There is an Indiana Jones attraction in Disneyland, which is the same exact ride vehicle system. My biggest concern, however, with that Indiana Jones re-theme is the one in Disneyland is very different from what Dinosaur is, from the track perspective. The Indiana Jones attraction in Disneyland is very large, open spaces, multiple levels where the vehicles actually cross over and under each other on these bridges, and there's this huge open space with this lava below. I mean, it's really actually spectacular. It is an amazing ride. I don't think that they are going to be replicating the Indiana Jones attraction. Actually, I believe they've actually come out and said it won't be a replication of what is in Disneyland. It will have its own story, which makes me worried that it's really not going to be as good. I don't feel like in that building where Dinosaur is, that they're going to be able to do the Disneyland version of Indiana Jones justice. So they're having to do a different story and a different version of it. And I just don't know if it's going to be great. One of the other possible attractions that they're going to be announcing is some sort of Lion King ride. Lion King attraction, which we're expecting to live somewhere over there near the Lion King show. Right now, that sort of area of the park is very empty. The only thing that exists over there right now is the Lion King show. There's lots of space over there for some additional stuff on that sort of walkway pathway over to Pandora. And Animal Kingdom desperately needs new stuff. They need more. They need more than just a re-theme of Dinosaur and then the addition of an Omnimover, some type of ride for Encanto. They need more in that park. So I do think there's a high probability of us getting some sort of Lion King attraction that they've been talking about for a while. And this is possibly going to be some sort of boat ride. So I don't think we're going to get an Encanto boat ride and a Lion King boat ride. I think we're only going to get one boat or water type ride in Animal Kingdom. That's why I think Encanto is probably going to be more like a dark Omnimover or Remy's type ride. And the Lion King ride might end up actually being sort of the log flume or boat type attraction. Shifting over to Epcot now, we're definitely getting Test Track 3.0. That's already been announced. I think we're going to get maybe another update on that. Again, the concept art for that looks really good. However, we know how it went with the Epcot reimagining. The concept art didn't really match as advertised, so we'll see if Test Track 3.0 ends up actually being like what the concept art shows or not. That attraction really needs to open sooner rather than later, because with that test track being gone, there's not a ton of marquee attractions in Epcot, so it's really going to boost those wait times for things like Frozen and Remy's Ratatouille. Also, quite possible that we're going to get an update on the Wonders of Life Pavilion. I have not seen them doing a lot of work over there recently. The Wonders of Life Pavilion with Body Wars in there was shut down years ago, right next to Guardians of the Galaxy there. They were recently resurfacing the roof. I do know that every time I get on Guardians of the Galaxy, my magic band does go off in a specific area when I'm at the exit. And I've been speculating for a while that that has something to do with that Play Pavilion. Like there's something in there that maybe is triggering it, because they had announced that Play Pavilion, sort of reimagining the Wonders of Life Pavilion, and then they had budget cuts and then they killed the whole thing. Now, I don't know if they killed it or they just put it on pause, or they have they're thinking about doing something new with it. It's possible that the Play Pavilion might get re-energized and brought back to the surface, or it's possible that they could do something else with it. I know that the Inside Out movie just came out and it has been huge, like a massive success for Disney Pixar, and it's quite possible that they could do something in that space with it. It kind of makes sense if you think about what the Wonders of Life Pavilion was all about. It was all about sort of like health and well-being and education, which is what Epcot's supposed to be about. So you could easily see Inside Out fitting into that theme with sort of mental health and thinking about all the different emotions and the states of mind that we are in. And you can do some pretty cool stuff in there. I don't know, but that is a possibility. Now let's shift gears and talk about Hollywood Studios, what we might see coming for that park. That park desperately needs some love. It recently got the Galaxy's Edge expansion, which has been great for the park, but I still think it needs some more stuff. And that's really because of the fact that the animation courtyard, if you go down the main street of Hollywood Studios there, and you get to in front of Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway there, the Chinese theater, and you hang a right, that entire area over there is a complete waste of space right now. I mean, there's literally nothing happening there. Star Wars launch bay, some kid stuff over there that really doesn't, I don't feel like gets used. The Little Mermaid show, which was shut down and hasn't reopened, though they have announced that they are replacing it with a new show. I would have rather just seen that show go away. See you later, we don't need it. But that whole area there is pretty big. I mean, it's a big area of space, and it's quite possible that we'll see something announced for that space. I know a lot of people have been kind of speculating, like maybe they could do a Disney Villains in that space, make it sort of because there's a lot of large buildings that all sort of connect to each other in that space, big giant warehouse structures that are already built. You can easily see, because they're all sort of connected, how you could transform that space into a giant indoor area and potentially do something like a Disney Villains Land, which is completely indoor so that it's always dark in there, so that you don't have to worry about a daytime and a nighttime experience. So that could be cool. I don't know if we're gonna get that there though. I'm just not sure about it. Now let's talk about the biggest announcement that they are likely to make, which is around the Beyond Big Thunder Mountain. Beyond Big Thunder Mountain, that big space in the back there over near Tom Sawyer's Island and behind Big Thunder Mountain, there's a lot of room for them to do some stuff there. Definitely expecting to get some sort of update there. But before we get past Big Thunder Mountain, I also do think we're going to get a refurb of Big Thunder Mountain itself. I think they're going to start adding in some of the new lighting and upgrading the tracks and things like that, like they have in some of the other parks. And then behind Big Thunder Mountain, I think we are going to get an announcement about Beyond Big Thunder Mountain, potentially a Coco type inspired area, but also could be the location for the Villains Land as well. I think this is a major contender for the Villains Land space, more so than Hollywood Studios. First of all, we already have Fantasyland in Magic Kingdom. Villains Land is basically the exact opposite, the antithesis of that. And so it makes sense to have a villains and sort of a fantasy, like a good fantasy land and an evil villains land all in the same park. It really works. You could potentially even connect the two in some way, maybe with the railroad, the railway that goes sort of back there. I know that there's a lot of talk about potentially a Coco inspired area, which by the way, I would love to have a Coco inspired area. I just don't know if there's enough with just Coco as far as being an entire land. I think maybe a Coco attraction, but I don't know where that would really go. And if they did a Coco there, that would be fine, but what else would they put there? They'd have to come up with something else unless it's just a single attraction. Another announcement for Magic Kingdom, Moana. I talked about the sort of Moana land that they had sort of hinted at. They had showed some concept art for it, that they were talking about replacing the Dino Land area in Animal Kingdom. It looks like they might actually be bringing a Moana attraction, potentially a boat ride, to Magic Kingdom. Current thought there is the space beyond Pirates of the Caribbean. There's sort of a big patch of land right there behind Pirates of the Caribbean that they could use for this Moana attraction. However, it is a little bit odd to me to have two water rides right next to each other instead of sort of spaced out across the park. So I'm not sure if that's really where it's going to end up being, but could possibly be there. There's been patents, schematics, drawings, things that have come out recently around this Moana style attraction. Not just sort of this big dome and this experience, but also a ride vehicle itself, essentially an interesting new way of doing a log flume ride that can actually move more than just one direction. So it does look on the schematic very similar to the boat that Moana uses in the movie. So it's quite possible that we're getting a Moana attraction, a boat ride somewhere. I think this is the most likely spot for it right now. It could also be, however, in the Beyond Big Thunder Mountain area, if there was a Coco / Moana, kind of bring those together in some way. I'm not sure how, but maybe they can. I mean, I have to say Indiana Jones and Encanto, super loose connection there for me. I get it, you know, you can call it the tropical Americas or whatever, but to me it's just a super loose connection. So I'm sure they could figure out some way to bundle Coco and Moana together. And then the last big possibility for Magic Kingdom specifically is a new nighttime parade, or a new parade of some kind that transitions. We already have the Festival of Fantasy parade, we have daytime parades and cavalcades at Magic Kingdom, but we haven't had a nighttime parade for a long time. And I just did a video about how Disney can turn things around and get some of their fans back. And one of the things that I called out was a new nighttime parade, or some sort of parade that can also be done in the daytime and be just as interesting. Because one of the problems with Spectro Magic is being a nighttime only show. It really ended up butting up against the fireworks at night. So it was like there was a Spectro Magic, and then right after that was the fireworks, and it just created a lot of like logistical issues with getting people in and out, and people were kind of trapped in a space, and it really shut down Main Street and the whole area in front of the castle for several hours. I don't know if it's going to end up being Spectro Magic. Probably not, unfortunately. I think that's a missed opportunity if it's not Spectro Magic or Spectro Magic 2.0, because my favorite parade of all time, I don't care what you say, it's the GOAT of all parades. We're thinking we might actually get an announcement about some sort of nighttime parade returning to Magic Kingdom, and I think that would be awesome. I'd be really excited for it. There's a couple of big possibilities for Disneyland. One is we're expecting an update on the Avatar Land coming over to Disneyland, just like they have at Animal Kingdom and Walt Disney World. Going to be adding a World of Pandora Avatar-style land in Disneyland. And then also some sort of new Marvel attraction. I've said it in my previous video. I think they need more Marvel. I think Marvel could be a good thing to add to the parks, but unfortunately their track record with adding Marvel to Disneyland has been not good. It's been, quite frankly, in my opinion, a bust. They haven't done it justice. So maybe they can add a new Marvel attraction that'll get people excited. Maybe if it's a good attraction instead of the busted stuff they got there right now. But those are the big announcements, I think, for Disneyland. And the big question on everybody's mind is, will we see a 5th park for Walt Disney World? Are they going to announce a 5th park? It's possible. It is possible that they allude to a 5th park. However, I don't believe they will. And I'll tell you why. I don't think they're ready for a 5th park. I don't think they could execute a 5th park right now with all the problems that they have. I don't think they have the money for a 5th park right now. And any sort of announcement around a 5th park at this point, I think, would really just be a blue sky announcement. And as I said earlier in the video, they're really trying to stay away from Blue Sky this year because of all the backlash they've gotten. So I don't think we're going to see any news about a 5th park. I personally don't think that any of these announcements, even all combined, are big enough to counter Epic Universe. I think there's some exciting things coming, but I'm not overly optimistic because of their track record the last few years, whether they'll be able to execute these things right. So if they do nail everything that I've talked about in this video and they bring them all to fruition and they do it quickly, I think it will help to counter Epic Universe success, especially something big like a Disney Villains Land. That will help to counter Dark Universe. It'll bring a little bit of edginess to Disney, which I think is missing today. But we're still a ways out from that. I mean, we're probably 2, 3, 4, even if they do announce a Disney Villains and that they are making progress, I mean, that's 2, 3, 4 years out. I mean, it could be longer. Look how long it took them to build a garden in Epcot. I mean, it could be 5 years out at this point, even if they know exactly what they're doing. After Epic Universe releases That is the start. That's the beginning. I keep saying Epic Universe is the beginning, it's not the end. And after that comes out, they're just going to keep on rolling. And what I expect to happen is that Universal will continue to add more things into their existing parks, Universal Studios, Islands of Adventure. They'll start to actually pour more money into those parks, adding new attractions, replacing some of the defunct areas and lands there. I think you're going to see a lot of energy going into those existing parks. So they're just going to keep on rolling. I don't think Disney honestly has anything big in their back pocket right now that is going to combat that. I am excited for a lot of the cool things that are on this list, so I will definitely be continuing to visit Disney and see all the great things, but it just feels like we're pretty far out from any of those things actually coming to fruition. So overall, that's the list. That's everything that I think is coming this year, all the speculation, all the rumors that we're hearing, all the things that they've even actually hinted at and kind of announced. Let me know what you think. Are you excited for the D23 Expo? Are you like me and you're kind of just lukewarm about it right now because you're not 100% trusting if they're going to actually come through with anything? Are you crossing your fingers like I am that they nail it and that they actually start doing all the things that they're saying? Let me know in the comments. Love to hear from you. Once again, be sure to like, subscribe, and share this video, and check out all the other awesome videos and content that we're doing on this channel. I also want to let you know that we will be covering the D23 Expo as it is happening. We'll be doing breakdown videos of what we're hearing, what we're seeing, and whether we think they're actually going to come through with it. Any of the information you're going to want to check back on this channel. Hit the notification button on our channel so you know when those videos pop up. Until I see you next time, the Noble Way is the easy way. Bye-bye, everybody.